What's going on, y'all? Y'all already know what it is. This is the Right Mind Wednesdays podcast, episode 109. We are officially here. We're looking a little bit different, but we're trying something new and we're keeping the progress going. On this latest episode, we are just talking about Suicide Prevention Month for September. Just some of the things that I've been going through, things that we can just catch up on, as well as some of the things that I've done in my own personal life to help me through some mental health struggles, as well as dealing with either suicidal thoughts or self-harm or things like that. So I hope y'all enjoy this episode. Be sure to check us out on Patreon, follow us, Instagram, Facebook, all that wonderful stuff. And let's make connections through conversations. What's up?
This is a new era, bringing it all together. Getting your right mind, we grind, we do it forever. That's the only mission. Elevated thinking is a vision. Yeah, I'ma keep moving if it's so hit. You can't stop me when I hop aboard the spaceship. Sit and watch as I make shit. I am not a human, I'm a living constellation.
What's going on, y'all? We are officially here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I want to say God bless as always. Appreciate everybody and their support for this podcast. I want to shout out my team. I know obviously they are not here with me. I am kind of doing an impromptu podcast episode of some things that I just wanted to share and just kind of talk a little bit about. Especially with it being Suicide Prevention Month. I would love to chat with my team on this as well. I appreciate their support, their opinions, just timing and everything. This is just something that I wanted to touch on and just share with y'all from a personal perspective and just do kind of a just me podcast. And it's a little bit different sometimes, but it's always fun. I'm used to being able to communicate with the people, to the left of me. But today it is just me. So I hope y'all enjoy this episode. I've got some notes of some things that I want to talk about, address with y'all. And I hope y'all will just take the time to just listen, enjoy, and hopefully let's make some connections through conversations with this episode. Now, as we have kind of stated already, it is Suicide Prevention Month. I know that there are a lot of people that are dealing with suicidal thoughts. They are dealing with self-harm, or those that have actually taken their life, unfortunately. And I just wanted to, just kind of address the topic. It's very important that we bring awareness to this. I'm actually doing something like this at my job. And, one of the statistics that came up was that one person every 11 minutes commits suicide. And it is just such a sad thing to think about that, within an hour, we are losing, 2+ people to them, not even just, crazy situations or accidents or whatever, but people that have committed to taking their life, again, unfortunately. And I'm not here to say that I know every single mindset when it comes to understanding suicide. And I know that it is a very sensitive topic when it comes to just discussing it. So, I just, precursor everything that we're talking about, with just if you, to be mindful when you are having these discussions, and if there is anything that is maybe triggering or, just very sensitive, I want to approach this as safely as possible and know that this is a safe space to share that information. But I respect everybody's just, emotional well-being, and I pray that everybody gets the help that they need, as well as just doesn't take there is no intent of trying to push anybody off the deep end when it comes to addressing this topic as I do here. It's more of just trying to share my perspective and to hopefully shed some light on some things of what I've done in my own personal life to hopefully help somebody else. But before I get into that, just want to share a little bit about what's going on. I've been working in the studio, working on music, trying to get some projects underway. Shout out to Mertz, as always, as I'm sure you've heard on many a podcast. But shout out to him and just, helping me get through this process. I have some new music that is coming, some collaboration projects. I'm working on some other things with some people over in the UK. So that's been super great. I've been working on the brand. As you can see, Have More Faith. Be sure to check out the store. Small little plug. Just trying to spread the word of God, just trying to encourage people to have more faith. You can never have enough. So just keep pushing, keep trusting in God, keep trusting that everything is going to work out the way that it should. As long as you put your faith and trust in God, you will achieve everything that you need in this life. Let's see. So, let's get into it. We're talking about suicide prevention. I've had my own personal experiences when it comes to thoughts of suicide, and it was honestly, definitely a difficult time. There were definitely some outside sources related to that for me specifically. I was dealing with loss of family members. My father had passed away probably a year and a half prior, and then my sister had passed away, a year and a half after that. And I was just dealing with a lot of loss for me, because I had just met this side of my family, and then all of a sudden now I'm already losing people that I have not been able to build a relationship with, get to kind of learn my own history from, just in my family. And I don't deal with loss. I don't deal with change in the sense of people leaving for whatever reason very well. And so when these losses and deaths in my family started to come about, it took a toll on me. And it wasn't until my sister passed away that it really started to kind of sink in, because when my father died, I didn't really have the same grieving processes as maybe the atypical person, because I didn't really know my father like that. We only shared letters throughout the years, so I only got to kind of get to know him on paper, but not really in person, which, as many of you know, that's a very drastic difference. So, when he passed away, it was kind of like, yeah, I know that he passed away. I recognize that he's my dad, but it's still kind of somebody that I don't know. And if you've ever, seen, maybe, not to put this in the same comparison, I want to use this loosely, but, if you see a celebrity that you maybe know, or, maybe a distant relative that, is part of the family, but you haven't really built that relationship, they pass away, the grief that you may feel is very different than somebody that you have grown up with, spent a lot of time with, gotten to know over the years, and really built a strong relationship with. And then to have them, be gone, there is definitely that change. And for me, there wasn't really that changeful impact in my life, because we hadn't really lived together at all. I went to visit him 3 months prior to that, and then 3 months later he unfortunately passed away. But I know that God gave me that moment to be able to spend at least a week with him, because I know that there are a lot of people that don't have the opportunity to meet their dad or their mom, and then they go through life just never even having that type of relationship. So I am grateful that I was able to not only meet him, but be able to talk with him through letters, and to be able to actually meet him in person, even for just a week. I was also there when he passed away. So, I had that kind of final moment with him to be able to say goodbye, if you will, to be able to hear him say, I love you, even as he was struggling, passing away and everything like that. So it's definitely, one of those things, but it was still not being able to fully process. And then when my sister passed away, it all really started to sink in that I am losing pieces of my family. I am losing just life, to me, of history, of things that I could learn, and pieces that I was missing.
Here's what I found.
Thank you, Siri. Pieces that I was missing in my own personal life, of things that I didn't know, I didn't have access to. And finally I had access to it, and it was kind of taken away. And, God has a plan for everything. So I've been, trusting in that plan, regardless of my emotions, regardless of how I feel about the situation. I know that there is a reason for it, and a space for that. So, I'm trusting in that now, especially as I have been diving deeper into my walk and relationship with God. So, to kind of touch on, just where I was at, my like I said, my sister has passed away. I am literally at the funeral, and, I end up going to a bar, and there was a moment where, I basically just wanted to drink myself until the end. Drinking alcohol has been a role player in my life as well as my family's life, and I know that in that moment, that was the thing that I gravitated towards, and it was the thing that I wanted to just kind of use. Alcoholism runs in my family, and it was kind of one of those things. It was just a go-to, and for me, that was the go-to that I wanted to, take everything away. But I thank God that it never got that far. I ended up passing out, obviously from the alcohol, but I was trying to drink and drink and drink and drink some more. And again, I'm just grateful to God that he made me pass out. I passed out. I woke up and just kind of went about my day. I was going through a lot of other personal things, along with the loss of my sister. But, just having all of those things kind of topple on top of each other, really just kind of added fuel to the fire, and why, I kind of reached that moment. I definitely dealt with a lot of, depression during that time, again, with a lot of the things that was happening simultaneously through all of that. And so, it was hard for me to really, really break out of those things. And, for a long time, I just wondered, am I ever going to get out of this? Am I ever going to feel better? Am I ever going to just be happy, happy that my family is here, happy in my relationships, happy with my friendships, happy with just my life, and that, I can go days, months, weeks without, reaching a good high, and then, having another low just kind of seep in there, always expecting that something bad was going to happen. That was my mentality, was that, I'm going to have all these great things, but just wait, something is going to happen, and just be prepared for that. So, which is a tough mindset to have. You're always expecting the worst, even in the good moments. And, as I continue my walk, we just have to learn to appreciate the good things that we have in our lives, because it can always be a lot harder, this is actually something I was going to talk about a little bit later in this episode, but we have to learn to appreciate the things that are right in front of us, and recognize that our situation is probably not as worse as it could be, and that there, unfortunately, most likely is someone who is struggling with something a lot harder than we are, or in a situation that is a lot more difficult than the one that we find ourselves in. So having that perspective, is definitely one thing that helps me, especially today when dealing with difficult situations, um, and challenges that are coming across my life, because we know that this life is not easy. It was never promised to be easy, but there is also not a manual that they give you to tell you how to manage through this life. It's kind of one of those figure it out as you go. And again, with this podcast, I hope that we can deliver some of that information to even some of our youth to be able to handle these situations, to fight through and build up that resiliency when they are, kind of compressed together. How do you bounce back from those situations? And that's what resiliency is all about. And so, we got to start tapping into the youth when they're younger and teaching them ways to handle stress, ways to manage difficult situations, ways to manage anxiety and depression, and for them to know that there is a way for them to be able to handle it, to fight through it, to get through it, and potentially get rid of it, to be honest. And but we wait until something bad happens, and then we try to make amends after and repairs, and we forget that sometimes these things are preventable if you give the kids information early. We teach them all these things in school, but we don't teach them how to live life. And these are things that the youth, these kids really, really need. And so, the other thing that has really worked for me, especially in that moment, was having good friends around me that recognized that I was going through a really difficult situation. I was the type of person that was always willing to go out, to hang out, do whatever. And then when that stopped, they were able to recognize those things, and they said, "Hey, Jay, we can tell that something is off with you, and we need you to really snap out of it. So, come hang out with us, come talk with us." And honestly, having people just to be able to listen, to hear what I had to say, to be able to share my thoughts, my feelings without any sort of judgment, and just, also too, to offer their opinion that was a helpful opinion. It wasn't something that was there to knock me down or to make me take a couple steps backwards, but it was things that just like, Jay, like, life is going to go on. You have to go on too. And, just reminders of, hey, bro, you got to appreciate these moments. You got to appreciate the time that you had. You got to appreciate the fact that you're still here, and be able to share, what your dad's legacy, your family's legacy with what and that you do still have family that is here that you can talk to and still learn from. It doesn't just have to come from one source, but utilize everybody that you have, because they all have their own experiences with this one man, with this one woman that is no longer with us, that can shed some light on who they are and what your family's past is. So having those friends was super beneficial for me. So I invite you to please find, within your core friend group, just those people that when things are going tough, to reach out to them and just say, hey, I pray that you have the confidence and the trust in them to say, hey, listen, I am not okay. And as many of you have probably heard, it's okay to not be okay. And some great advice that has been shared through this podcast from Crispy was, it's okay to not be okay, but don't stay there. Because once we start staying there, that's when those thoughts start to creep in. That's when action starts coming from those thoughts. And I never want anybody to have to go through that situation. Obviously, a lot of these things are easier said than done, but take it from somebody that has had that experience. again, I know not everything is going to work for everybody, but please just trust and try. Find what is going to work for you. There are many methods to fighting this and going through this. But for me, within that moment, just having friends to be able to talk to and get me out of the house instead of dwelling in my thoughts was probably the most beneficial thing, because I don't know what would have happened if I had just stayed within those thoughts, or what would have happened. So I'm grateful to those people that were in my life at the time to help me to get through those situations. And I know that a lot of times when we were going through this stuff, a lot of it is, it can be a number of things that we're going through, or it can just be a comparison thing. We're just so influenced by social media and what social media is telling us to say and do, and how we should act, how we should feel, how we should look, how we should dress, how, all of these things social media is telling us from, a certain perspective. And it's like, dude, how do you want to dress? How do you want to feel? And sometimes we take these opinions because it's all over social media, and well, if it's on social media and it's got all these likes and it's got all these shares and interactions, well, it must be true. Not all the time, and with social media, we are literally looking at the highlight reel of somebody's life. Majority of the time, they are not putting up, the negative situations, unless you have those people that are sharing their testimonies of things that they've been through, but things that they've overcome. Realistically, you see somebody on a beach. I don't know, I probably shared this before, but I'll share it again. You see somebody on a beach on their vacation. You say, man, I really wish I could be there. I want that. Why can't I have that? My life stinks. I can't afford that. I can't go there. Meanwhile, you're not realizing that maybe that person is in debt going on this vacation, or that the sunny pictures that you're seeing are the 4 hours that were actually sunny on their vacation, and that the rest of the week was raining the entire time. Or that when they got on the flight, there was a delay, or that there was a screaming kid on the flight and they really didn't get any sleep. And that the reason that they're wearing sunglasses in that sunny picture isn't really because it's that sunny, but because they're hiding the bags under their eyes because they're so tired, but they're just trying to find a way to enjoy the short glimpse of their vacation in the sun. This is just an example of how social media can fool us. We only see surface level. We only see that highlight reel of what is happening. We don't recognize what's really happening. And then we start to compare, and then we take that comparison into our own lives, and we think our life isn't matching up to what everybody else is doing. And then we think, what's the point of having this life if it's not the expectation of what everybody else wants it to do? Well, what is your expectation? What do you want to get out of life? What do you enjoy? What are you passionate about? And what do you want to see in your own life? What do you enjoy? Go out and do it. Stop waiting, but stop comparing your level of success or your life or any of that stuff to somebody else, because we're all flawed humans. We all make mistakes. Even the people that seem to have the most glamorous life are just a train wreck, honestly. We're just doing it better than others. I'm not the most perfect person at all. I will never claim to be, but I'm trying my best to just live a righteous life, and just to live a good one and a happy one, despite the chaos that might be around us. Again, these things cause us to lose focus on who we are, and we start to try to emulate other people. Who I am isn't good enough, because that's what social media tells me. I need to be like this person. And then we fall into just that spiral. And when we can't match up to who somebody else is, because it's not who we are or who we are meant to be, we wonder what's wrong with us. And again, then the thoughts start to creep in. And we start to wonder, who am I even? And then we get lost. And then we travel down a road that we don't need to be on. Listen, I'm not trying to judge anybody. I'm not trying to say that my situation or the things that I've been through is greater or worse than anybody else's, nor am I here to say that I am greater or holier than thou than anybody else. You know, when it comes to this topic, to life, I am 36 years old. I am still trying to figure this thing out. Do I have a better plan when it comes to it? Absolutely. Again, do I have it all figured out? Absolutely not. Do I still mess up? Do I still start to question things a little bit? Of course. That's just who we are. I'm human. But then, again, I start to reflect and I start to think, look at all the beautiful things that I have around me. Look at all the blessings that God has given me and allowed me to have, all the experiences and all the things. And, you know, these things start to just fade away. You know, I worry about time. I worry about money. And, you know, and then when you just start letting those things go, time starts to slow down, honestly. And you know, the money will come, but money is going to go too. You know, we're going to die. We're not going to die with it. It's going to go to somebody else. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things. Why really over stress about it more than you need to when it's not going to go with you? Not saying you should just put yourself in debt, but you know what I mean. Oh, at least I hope you do. You know, it's you know, kind of one of those things. You I think I mentioned it. You start to see things getting better, and then all of a sudden it crashes down again. You know, and you're trying to figure out how I can break through that ceiling. How can I get through this wall that keeps putting itself up in front of me? You know, it's like those electronic doors that, you know, it's got like a sensor on it, and when you cross that sensor, the wall goes up and it stops you from going through. And we have to figure out how to have that breakthrough. And it's, you know, sometimes it's, are you going down the right path? Are you doing the things that you should be doing in order to break through? You know, maybe you need to change the routine a little bit. Maybe you need to try some different things, because obviously the things that you're doing are preventing you from breaking through that wall. It's the, you know, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And so, you know, when you feel like you are, you know, getting that high, and then for some reason you get slammed with a low, or you feel like you're finally reaching that breakthrough and you hit that wall, it's probably because what you're doing, the habits that you have, or you know, your walk, or, you know, just the things that you have in your life, or the routine, or whatever it may be, something's got to change, and you have to reflect and figure out what it is that needs to change, because obviously what you're doing right now is not working, and it's not getting you past where you're trying to be. I even say it for myself. I'm like, why isn't my clothing, you know, taking off? Or why isn't my music taking off? Or the podcast, or whatever it may be? Or why can't I get my finances in check? Well, it's like, dude, like, look how much you're spending on Dunkin' Donuts. Or, you know, are you really putting the time and the effort into all of these things? Or, you know, why is my faith struggling? Why am I not? And it's like, dude, are you reading the word? Are you praying? Are you praising? Are you, you know, really diving deeper? Are you trying harder? Or are you just doing the bare minimum? That's really what it comes down to. Thinking about these things and thinking, like, okay, what am I doing, and what can I change that is going to help me get through this, and help me grow and get better. You know, we say not to compare, but sometimes you have to look at things and say that my situation really isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be, and that it really could always be worse. There's going to be many situations in life, that are going to be difficult, especially recently where, I've honestly just given them to God. I'm like, I have absolutely no idea how I am going to get out of this situation. This is something that I have, especially currently kind of put into play, again, especially growing in my walk, trusting in God with a lot of my situations. That is the faith that I stand on. And I have just given these situations to God. I said, Lord, I have no idea. I have no idea how to figure this out. I have no idea. And I cannot do this by myself. And when I did that, that's really when I started to see the breakthroughs, and just laying it at his feet and just giving it to him, giving it to him, and just trusting that he will take care of everything, because his will is greater than our will. And when we align our will with his is when we start to see things really fall into place, because God is always trying to encourage us that his plan, although sometimes things may seem a little crazy, it's always to bring us closer to him. It's always to give us a hope and a future. And, it's never to bring us down, make us do evil, or to do evil to us. It's always to bring us closer to him. And so, having that mindset has really helped me to just really push and just say, listen, I can't do this on my own. I can't live this life on my own. I need you, Lord. And it's I've never been disappointed, when it comes to it. Even when it's a situation where, or I should say, a result that I wasn't expecting, or a result that I necessarily wanted, it always came out better than what I expected. So even when it's not the answer that you want, it's the answer that you need. So always just kind of trust in that. So as I close, I just recommend and pray that everybody, that you, whoever you are that is listening to this, I pray that you are well. I pray that any just moments of depression, of anxiety, of any suicidal thoughts, I pray that the Lord just bind those up and cast them away. I pray that any difficult situations that are going in your life, I pray that they bring you closer to God, not away from him. I pray that, God just opens up doors that you've been waiting for in your life, to just break through that wall, and to close the doors that need to be closed, and that we don't look back on those doors, but that we look forward to the new door that has been opened by God, and just trust that his plan is going to be greater and better than the one that we are trying. And put your plans, put your goals, put your ambitions, put your passions, put them in his hands, because he's going to lay out a foundation and a path that is going to make them successful in the best way possible. So I just pray that you trust in that. I pray that God gives you peace. I pray that you just surround yourself with good people that are going to help benefit you, that are going to uplift you in the best way possible, especially during difficult moments, but also just to celebrate the good ones. And again, if you don't have somebody like that, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to send me a DM. Feel free to send me an email, a voice note, whatever it may be. I just pray that, you have somebody that you can come to, that you can talk to. And I can be that person that will just listen. And if you want advice, I'll be here to give advice. But it will always be advice that is going to uplift you, and again, based on my own perspective. But I'm just here to help those who are in need. And, I'm sure that my team can also vouch for this. Feel free to reach out to anybody on the Right Mind podcast team and just, hey, I need somebody to talk to. And I know that they'll be there for you, and I'll be here for you. Just feel free to reach out anytime, and I will get back to you. and we'll continue to grow, and we'll continue to push through this. So I pray that God blesses you in this day, that you are hearing this. I pray that, again, that God just covers you in your coming and your going, that he opens up those doors, that he gives you a new beginning, a new foundation, a new leg to stand on, and to know that God and Jesus loves you, and that, even though you may feel alone, you're not alone, that he is there, that he loves you, he sees you, and he just wants to have a relationship with you. And he just wants you to get closer to him. So I want to say thank you to everybody that has been watching. I want to say God bless one more time. Shout out to my team. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. But until next time, my name is Jay Faith, and this is the Right Mind Wednesdays podcast. Thank you for making connections through conversations. We'll catch y'all next time. What's up?